Blood shimmered on the desert sand under the brutal August sun of 1873 as Penelope James lay motionless on the dusty trail 20 miles outside Weaverville, California. Her once white dress was torn and soaked with blood, her honey-blonde hair tangled with dirt and sweat. Each shallow breath sent sharp pain through her bruised ribs, and consciousness threatened to slip away again. The distant rhythm of hoofbeats barely reached her fading awareness. Xavier Hayes noticed something strange on the horizon as he guided his chestnut mare along the lonely road back to his ranch. At first, he thought it was discarded clothing or the remains of an animal, but as he drew closer, the unmistakable shape of a woman came into view. He spurred his horse forward, dust kicking up behind them. "Good Lord," he muttered, swinging down from the saddle and kneeling beside her. Her face was swollen, one eye nearly shut, her lips split and bleeding. Xavier pulled off his bandana, poured water from his canteen, and gently wiped the blood from her face. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" Penelope stirred weakly, her lashes fluttering. Through blurred vision, she made out the silhouette of a man standing again. The bright sky, broad-shouldered, his hat casting shadows over his face. Panic surged. Instinctively, she tried to crawl away, a faint whimper escaping her lips. "Easy now," Xavier said softly, raising his hands. "I'm not going to hurt you. You need help." Her throat burned with thirst. "Please," she whispered, the word barely audible. Xavier nodded, understanding. Carefully, he slid one arm beneath her shoulders and the other under her knees, lifting her as gently as he could. She still winced, pain etched across her face. "I've got a ranch about 5 miles from here," he said as he set her on his horse and mounted behind her. One arm held her securely, while the other guided the reins. "Just lean back against me. I'll get you somewhere safe." She had no choice but to trust him. Her consciousness drifted in and out as they rode, her body occasionally going limp against his chest. Xavier kept a steady pace, careful not to jostle her injuries, his mind racing with questions about who could have left her like this. As the sun dipped behind the western hills, Pine Creek Ranch came into view. It wasn't large, but it was honest work, something Xavier had built with his own hands since arriving in California 4 years earlier. He dismounted carefully, still supporting her. "Mrs. Finch," he called. "I need help." The door flew open, revealing a stout woman in her 50s with gray hair pulled into a tight bun. Her eyes widened in alarm. "Merciful heavens," she gasped. "What happened?" "Found her beaten on the trail," Xavier said. "She needs care." "Now." Mrs. Finch took charge immediately, directing Xavier to carry Penelope into the spare bedroom. The room was simple but clean, with an iron-framed bed covered by a patchwork quilt. Xavier laid her down gently, noting her labored breathing. "Don't worry, miss," Mrs. Finch said, already rolling up her sleeves. "We'll take care of you." She shot Xavier a stern look. "Out you go. This is no place for a man's eyes." Xavier hesitated. "I can ride for the doctor." "Let me see her first," Mrs. Finch replied firmly, closing the door. For the next hour, she cleaned Penelope's wounds, wrapped her ribs, and helped her into a clean nightgown that had once belonged to Xavier's late mother. Penelope drifted in and out of awareness, murmuring and flinching at unseen threats. When Mrs. Finch finally emerged, her expression was grave. 3 cracked ribs, badly bruised, defensive wounds on her hands. She fought hard, no signs of worse, thank the Lord. "But she's feverish." Xavier's jaw tightened. "Will she live?" "With rest, yes. If the fever breaks." He insisted on sitting nearby that night. Near dawn, Penelope thrashed in her sleep, crying out that she didn't have it, that she was sorry. Xavier moved to her side, resting a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You're safe," he murmured. "No one will hurt you here." Her eyes flew open, wild with fear, before settling on his face. Recognition flickered. "Water," she whispered. He helped her drink. "You're at Pine Creek Ranch. I'm Xavier Hayes." She swallowed. Penelope James. Over the following days, a quiet rhythm formed. Penelope healed slowly. Mrs. Finch fussed over her, and Xavier stopped by often, careful not to press her. She remained guarded, especially when he asked about the man whose name she whispered in her sleep. When Xavier brought her a book of Tennyson's poetry, her fingers brushed his, and something unspoken lingered between them. A few days later, Xavier rode into Weaverville. As he passed the community board, a poster caught his eye. A crude sketch of a woman stared back at him. Penelope James, wanted for theft and murder. His blood ran cold. The date was recent. The crime was in Sacramento. He tore the notice down and folded it into his pocket. When he returned, Penelope sat on the porch, looking stronger. Xavier wasted no time. He showed her the poster. Her face drained of color. "I didn't kill him," she said quietly. "But I know who did." Penelope told him everything. How she had worked as a bank teller in Sacramento. How she discovered missing funds and followed the trail back to Silas Blackwell himself. How she gathered proof, only to be threatened. How Blackwell's partner, Reed Tucker, killed him during an argument and framed her. "They took me out to the desert to silence me," she said, her voice steady despite the memory. "They argued. I escaped. Barely." Xavier believed her. "They'll come looking," she warned. "Then we'll be ready," he said. When Penelope insisted the evidence she hid in Sacramento was the only way to clear her name, Xavier refused to let her go alone. Together, they took the stagecoach south, arriving weary but determined. With the help of her friend Clara, they went to retrieve the documents from a cathedral confessional. But they were too late. Reed Tucker was waiting. What followed was chaos. A gunshot shattered the quiet sanctuary. People screamed. Xavier grabbed the portfolio and ran, shielding Penelope as bullets tore through wood and stone. They fled through the streets, ducking into the newspaper office. The editor recognized the value of the evidence immediately. "This will bring them down," he said. When Tucker's men closed in, they escaped again, this time to the telegraph office, where they wired federal authorities. Just as Tucker prepared to finish it, the sheriff arrived, armed with fresh evidence already sent ahead by the newspaper. Tucker was arrested. By the next day, the truth was public. Penelope was cleared of all charges. The case unraveled quickly. Tucker and his associates were imprisoned. The bank paid restitution. Penelope declined her old job. When the dust settled, Xavier and Penelope stood outside the courthouse, unsure of what came next. "I'm going back to the ranch," Xavier said quietly. She smiled. "I think I'd like to come with you." At Pine Creek Ranch, life found a new rhythm. Penelope brought order to the books. Xavier expanded the land. Mrs. Finch approved wholeheartedly. They married 6 months later. Years passed. The ranch prospered. Children filled the house with laughter. And sometimes, as the sun dipped behind the hills, they sat on the porch together, remembering how close fate had come to ending everything before it truly began. From blood on desert sand to a life built on trust, courage, and quiet love, the road that nearly claimed Penelope's life had, in the end, led her home.